Good evening. Jim Glenn, my beautiful wife, Ann Glenn, and I are Diamond Associates with this amazing company. We want to really thank you for joining us this evening where we are talking with three amazing doctors. And tonight's conversation really strikes home with me. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit after the call that we're going to record, that we're going to play back for you. But it's the financial stability in this new world. You want me to play the bio real quick, or do you guys want to offer a little bit in real quick?
I'm happy to go in with the bio, and then we can chat later.
Okay, great. All right, guys, so hold on. Let me go ahead and go share screen, and I'll be right back with you. Participants, please go ahead and shut down your video. Here we go.
The pulse of the nation is under study. They are checking the temperature of the economy. The question everyone is asking is, what do we do next? You're about to hear from three top docs as they explain the Redox Advantage. Dr. Maureen Hayes is a double board certified MD with specialties in anesthesiology, pain medicine, and anti-aging medicine. With over 25 years in medical practice, Dr. Hayes is now a full-time educator and is on the Medical Professionals Board of ASEA. 7 years ago, she made the decision to go full-time into sharing the ASEA story with those who could benefit from this breakthrough redox signaling technology. She is dedicated to teaching wellness success and has been a sought-after feature speaker. Currently, she holds the position of double diamond in ASEA and leads a large team of independent entrepreneurs from her base in Galveston, Texas. Dr. Lee Osler is a practicing dentist in Richland, Washington for over 35 years. He is a founder and past president of the American Academy of Oral Systemic Health and a noted author and educator of dentists and physicians across the globe. His advanced topics include laser dentistry, oral systemic connections, redox signaling, cosmetic and neuromuscular dentistry. Dr. Osler has been a clinical instructor at the Las Vegas Institute and was a featured speaker at the AOSH and at the Top Gun Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. Directing the 5M Mastermind and Solstice Dental Advisors, Dr. Bill Williams practices comprehensive dentistry in Atlanta, Georgia. In his 45th year as a clinician, educator, and coach, Dr. Williams is the author of two best-selling books, Marketing the $1 Million Practice and the $10,000 a Day Dentist. On his podcast, The 10K a Day Dentist, he interviews experts on dentistry, medicine, and wellness. Dr. Williams leads mission trips to Africa, Central America, and Asia, most recently having served and lectured in Havana, Cuba, and with World Hope in Vietnam. And now stay tuned for the 4-part Redox Advantage series. Part 1 covers health and hope. Part 2 digs into the science of redox and breakthrough cellular health. Financial stability in a new world is the focus of Part 3. Finishing the series is What's Your Plan B? A look at what to do next to protect your future. Join the top docs of Redox. Get ready to meet the challenge. It's time to begin a new day. A new way of looking at wellness, wellness from outside in, and wellness from inside out.
All right, guys. Again, for me, this is the most important night. And if Mr. Osler will come back on, we've lost him, Maureen. I think we need to send someone out to find him. Oh, there he is. Lee, I don't know if this was up your alley, but can you just give a brief, and we're going to play the 26, 27-minute video and then talk some more after. But can you just share why this is so close to your heart?
Well, I think I represent the lion's share. I'm certainly within the crowd of the lion's share of people who find themselves toward the end of a career. And for various reasons, I'm not really financially prepared to retire yet or wanting to retire. And so that is a concern for a majority of people, at least in this country, and I'm sure around the world it's the same. Life happens, things happen, investments don't happen, businesses don't always work, and now we're sitting in a really unique time era where we're all impacted by events going on around us. And it just calls into question the importance of having an open mind and to better understand and be better educated about the whole concept of money. Where does income come from? And what are the business models that we use to generate that? And so I've been dwelling a little bit at that in my mind, and I think there's a nice segue into the overarching conversation of what this is all about in the first place. And so I think as we go forward tonight, that will become more apparent.
Bill, you're muted.
Okay, I coach dentists, and I realize that a lot of them are not ready for retirement. They're not ready to assume the relaxed lifestyle they thought they would assume. And it's very important, I think, for people to have an understanding that you've only got a certain number of years to amass a sum of money to live off of interest. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. You also have limited control over what the stock market does, what the housing market will do. Other people have control, and we're really in a situation this month, for others to control exactly how our income's coming in. And so it's very important that we develop what I call the virtual lifestyle, that we don't just rely on the career we always thought we'd rely on. You need a side gig, you need an extra insurance policy on the side. And I think this is going to be an answer for hundreds of thousands of people. This exact project is going to be something that people are going to tie into.
Absolutely. Maureen, is there anything you want to add real quick?
I've been addicted to this idea of residual income since I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, especially the cash flow quadrant about 20 years ago. And we just realized, speaking amongst ourselves, even before this pandemic happened, how important this concept is and how important it is for people, because the group that we run in, our colleagues are all used to making a very high income, but unless, like Dr. Lee and Dr. Bill have said, if they haven't invested it well or put enough away, they can find themselves trying to retire with a lot less money than they're used to. And so this concept was very important to us then, but it's been exaggerated now because so many people are finding themselves in a bad place right now. So this is kind of a lifeline that we decided to do, to throw out to people to maybe give them some hope. So
absolutely. Thank you, Maureen. Yeah, this is a very scary time for people. So let's go ahead and play the recording, then we'll come back on the back end. Yeah, Bill?
As we're going through this short video, 20-something minutes, I would invite the people listening to write a question down, and you might ask it at the end because we're going to stay for Q&A. And this might be the most important question you have going forward. And if you can get the answer tonight, it'd be worth the time you spent.
Or if you don't get your question answered, please get back to the person that invited you to this call, and we can one way or another talk with you about what your potential answers are. But we know that what we're doing right now is a solution, maybe not for everybody. It's not a solution for everybody, but everybody can do it, but not everybody will do it. So with that, guys, thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and mute out, and we'll start the video right now.
hello and welcome back. This is our third video in a series. I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas, and I'm here with two of my colleagues, Dr. Lee Osler from Richland, Washington, and Dr. Bill Williams from Atlanta, Georgia. And we have been talking about something that we think of as a message of hope and help, especially in these trying times, and reaching out to our other medical professional fellows and anyone else who's been greatly impacted by this. We've talked a little bit about a breakthrough technology that we've been introduced to and why that science is so important, especially now. And would like to talk a little bit about how this can also impact your financial health. I'd like to bring on Dr. Bill Williams, who is a genius at multiple streams of income and has actually written a number of books helping people especially in the dental field, create massive incomes. And just recently wrote an article in The Profitable Dentist about having a side gig. Dr. Bill, yeah, there it is. Fantastic. Dr. Bill, if you'll come on and talk a little bit about side gigs and making your side gig your main gig and why it's so important, especially now. Thank you.
You know, I teach a lot of dentists how to be successful. And one thing I taught them was they need to have a slight edge. And right now we need a big edge, because a slight edge is not enough. You know, we're not dentists anymore. Right now we're stuck in a place, Lee calls it the twilight zone of dentistry. We've actually been called to stay home to help fight the issues of worldwide pandemic. And so we're glad to do our part, but we're actually suffering by staying home. We don't have any income either. So those of us who are just dentists are in trouble. Those of us that already have a side gig are not in as big a trouble. And that's the message today. Is we're talking about the business of creating income for your family. You know, we know the health benefits. We covered that in the last video. And every single person should be on the product for their health, for their immune defense. But that's not the issue today. The issue today is everybody should be participating, if they want to create an income that's independent of dental practice, of independent of your business, your career, the job that you used to go to that you can't go to right now. You could do this from your home this week. You could start now, today, and you could actually create an income this week. And then we're going to show you that today, how you can actually start having an income today. The world as we know it has changed. Joel Barker, the futurist that Lee mentioned earlier, said that when the paradigm shifts, everybody starts back at zero. And this is 0 day for a lot of you. You know, you got to make a decision. Where is your income going to come from if you're going to not rely on just that government handout, which will be a help, but it's not enough to live off of. So it's time to reinvent yourself and to reinvest in yourself. And we've got a good answer for you. We've got a good point of view that we think can help every single person, the dental assistant, dental hygienist, the doctors, even the people that work in the pizza parlor. This is something that's good for everybody, not just professional persons. So we want to help you develop an immunity over the bumps and the lumps in society in the economic terms, not just the immunity to the diseases that are floating in the air. So years ago, I wrote a book called The $10,000 a Day Dentist, and it was because I shared with my colleagues how every day can be a perfect day. There are 50 ways to create a highly successful practice, and I identified the 50 things that I thought about, I did, or I believed in that created a day being good. And then I just said, if you could just repeat that day one more time, you ended up with a pretty good month. And so the idea here is if you can do a series of steps, of known steps to repeat, then you can be successful in the business of referring people to a health product that will improve their immunity, that will improve their overall body ability to withstand the stress of life. So I want to commend Dr. Osler for really putting together a system, and Dr. Maureen Hayes for putting together a system that involves us doing routine, repetitive procedures every day that lead to having financial health and strength. We're going to explain that today. There's a system, and that's the whole point, is all you have to do is follow the system to be successful. That's what I did to create $10,000 a day in my dental practice for 15 years straight. I've been over that number. I believe that if you follow the prescription that was given you by somebody who's already done it, then it's probably possible that you could do it too. That's our message. So Lee and Maureen, take over now and let's explain a little bit more about Plan B as we see it for the future for people who want to get involved.
Thank you, Bill. I love what you shared. And, you know, I've often heard it said, if you can bake a dozen cookies, you can bake a dozen cookies, right? So it's kind of getting that system into place and learning the things, the steps that you need to take. This is the business that we have found ourselves involved in is very, very powerful. We all came into this or were introduced to it because of a personal reason, and then saw the value of sharing it with other people who could benefit as well. Because as we said in that last video, the health benefits are incredible. And it's a supplement that is 100% non-toxic that benefits everybody who takes it, whether they feel that or not. It's working at the cellular level to benefit people. But it's become we've all become acutely aware of the need to have a plan B, as you say, or a side gig. And Dr. Lee Osler, if you wouldn't mind coming on, because you have studied this, and before this ever happened, it was almost prophetic. You started thinking about this and putting it together and talking about why this is so necessary and how many people truly were not prepared for retirement, let alone something like this that brought your practices to a grinding halt. Dr. Bill, you have always said you guys are one broken wrist away from losing your income. Who would have thought that you could be shut down like this? Dr. Lee, if you would come on and kind of share with us what you've put together, I think that would really help people. Thank you.
I'd be happy to do that. And I really appreciate Dr. Bill's breath of fresh air and how he contexts this and places it all in context. If I could, I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this will come up. We put together an article, and this can be seen at backupplanasset.com. But on this chart, there's some interesting questions, and I think the paradigm shift that we alluded to in a previous video is really what this is about. It's like, what is your backup plan? We are one broken wrist, we're one heart attack, we're one stroke, we're one governor's stroke of the pen away from great changes in how we produce income. And so to answer the question of, well, gee, I'm a health professional, I'm a doctor, or I'm a whatever, stockbroker, I make a lot of money and I don't need anything on the side. And it's like, if you haven't understood now personally or through your family the importance of changing your mind about that, I don't know what's going to get through to you. And so that's part of who we're appealing to here. The asset equivalent chart that you'll see on backupplanasset.com is an instructive one because you can find yourself in this. For example, we do whatever we do so that we can put money aside in some kind of a retirement vehicle so that at some point we can quit putting money in it and we can start drawing money away from it, and we can go walk on the beach or fly around the country or be with our grandkids or do whatever it is that we want to spend our time doing, which requires X amount of dollars per month coming from somewhere to do that. This is a simplistic presentation in the sense that obviously your money is going to come from hopefully multiple sources, whether it's Social Security or IRAs or CDs or whatever. But the point here is to look at this chart and see yourself in it. I'm going to scroll down here to the second chart. The point here is you'll see here in the right column, $10,000 per month. This is the amount of money coming in, and you would have $10,000 a month coming in if you had $2 million in the bank earning 6% interest. If you were only earning 3% interest, you would require $400,000 in the bank at 3% to generate $10,000 per month. You can walk over here and say, well, all I need is $5,000 a month. To have $5,000 a month at 6% interest, you need $100,000 or $1 million in the bank. So whatever it is, you plug your own numbers in based on what lifestyle you want. You can see in this chart the amount of money that you're going to have on deposit in some retirement vehicle at a specified interest rate. The other thing is, if you can look at this and say, well, right now, my retirement portfolio, for example, is $240,000 and I'm only earning 2% interest, that means I'm going to earn $4,000 a month if I had to cash in on that right now. If I'm really optimistic and think I can get 6% interest on my return, all I need is $800,000 in the bank at 6% to generate $4,000 a month. So the point here is you look at this little academic exercise, you can plug yourself and your own numbers that you know into this and say, what is it that I need per month to live on? What do I anticipate or expect that my interest return can be? and how much money do I have on deposit in whatever vehicle that I have that I could draw on, assuming it's liquid. So the point here is you think of it in the reverse now and say, what if? What if I did something as a side gig? What if I was mowing lawns, or was a real estate representative, or was day trading, or I was an author selling books on Amazon or whatever? The question is, if I could do whatever it is I was doing and have $10,000 a month coming into my bank account every month because of those activities, it would be the same as having $2 million in the bank earning 6% interest. So now the question is, okay, the traditional route, it takes me 30 years. I'll give people maybe more benefit for credit there and say maybe it only took them 20 years, but somewhere between 20 and 30 or 40 years to accumulate set amount of 2 million or 3 million or 1 million or whatever it is you're going to wind up with, hopefully. It will take that long based on rules of investing and tax things and so forth. But what if you could do something on the side? What if you could do something that would begin to generate even just $1,000 a month or $800 a month? At 6% interest, $1,000 a month is the same as having $200,000 in the bank. And the question would be, right now, doing what you're doing, which right now for us is nothing, but assuming you were up to speed, how long would it take after taxes for you to accumulate an additional $200,000 for which you could earn 6% and create a cash flow of $1,000 a month? That's really the heart of this. And so what we're proposing in this is a vehicle that is selling into the market, that is in demand because of what's going on about us, that would have the ability to generate a residual leveraged monthly income flow. You put the number in, whatever you want. It's the same as spending all of those years accumulating something in a traditional way. But what if you could do that in a year? What if you could do that in 2 years? What if you could do that in 5 years? How long would it take you to put an extra $1 million or $2 million away that could earn 6% interest and generate $5,000 to $10,000 a month? Now, we're not saying that that's what you're going to generate, but this is a somewhat hypothetical model that shows the power of this asset equivalence. And the point here is down here, and you'll read this in the report, the rule of 72. I've talked with stockbrokers who say that if you're 35, 45, 50, and I get there's a lot of variables with that, but if you're already there and you haven't got your retirement figured out, it's too late. And the reason why is because the rule of 72 does not allow you enough time for your money to double in a compound interest investment vehicle so that you can one day stop and start drawing the interest off without touching the principal. And so what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes is a way to leverage yourself through a compounding of a generational leveraging. That's the business vehicle that what we're selling into the marketplace accomplishes. I hope that wasn't too esoteric, but when you see yourself in that chart, go to backupplanasset.com and look for yourself. Put your numbers in the graph. And I realize there's a lot of variables because maybe you're better at investing. Maybe you've got better timing in the marketplace. I don't know. Everybody's at a different place. But just find yourself in there, and then you can see that you just don't have enough. You'll have to either change your lifestyle, you'll have to live on less, or you've got to find another vehicle, I should say, or you need to find another vehicle that can generating additional income that would be your side gig, your side hustle, whatever you want to call it.
One of the things I know from working with a lot of different dentists, Lee, nobody thinks that a dentist doesn't have it made out there. I mean, if you look at the general public, they think we're all rich. We won life's lottery. Same with physicians. But the truth is, we know from being the consultant and the coach for many dentists that far too many dentists don't have that nest egg secure by the time the rule of 72 is already in play. And so there's no way they can live off the savings they've made, and they do have to do something. And most of the time, the dentists have always thought, I'm just going to work until I die. That's the answer to their dilemma of not having enough to live off of. They have already decided they'll work till 75, 80, 85 because they don't have anything saved up. And so what we're proposing, as you say, is a way to create the nest egg on a residual income basis that flows without having to have it already in the bank.
That's a great explanation. And I don't know about dentists, but I do know a lot of dentists get what we call, physicians get what we call the golden handcuffs, where especially when you're in training for so many years and you're deprived and you're sacrificing, working 110, 120 hours a week, you feel like you deserve the prize, when you get out and you first start making money. And it's often not as much money as people think. There are a lot of physicians who have great, and probably dentists as well, who have magnificent incomes, but they've worked very hard for that. But we have a tendency to spend it as well and have, larger lifestyles, maybe because people feel like they deserve that. And often people can't stop working because they have to continue to pay for those things that they've over leveraged themselves for. So things are not always as they seem. But I love what you guys are saying. And I want to say that the best time to do this, we find ourselves in a very strange situation right now where people's practices are being shuttered. But the best time to do this is when you don't need it. It's great. We can help you to develop an income right now. If you're willing to join us, if you're willing to get out there and serve other people, especially in a time of need like this, we can help you develop this income right now. It will take time to make it residual, but it will become residual. I have a residual income because I've been doing this for 7 years. It doesn't take a full 7 years for it to become residual, but every year that I do this, more and more of my income becomes residual, so that if I stopped or I walked away or I go on vacation, those checks keep coming, and they will continue to keep coming. And they will grow larger and larger the more people we impact with this life-changing technology. And so right now, if you find yourself in need of another income, please speak to one of us or speak to the person who sent you to watch this video, and we can discuss more about how we can make that happen or help you make that happen for you and your family, and how we can help you make that residual over time. Now, Bill, if you don't mind talking about the difference between sharing the product, kind of having a customer base versus building a network, which is kind of like a franchise base. Can you speak a little bit about the difference on those two things and what we're doing here?
Yeah, one thought came to mind as you were speaking too, that it's not about being there first and everybody else loses. Somebody came to mind this last week. We were talking to them, and they built this business model to be successful for themselves in just 4 or 5 months, to be equally as successful as you built yours in 7 years. If that's possible for them, it's possible for anybody. It's just a matter of your work ethic and your degree of your tenacity to stick with it. And so one of the values that we have is people that have a vision and have perseverance and know how to follow the system. It is a system. You connect people together, and when people are connected together, they learn together. And you're not doing retail sales to make this work. You're not doing wholesale sales to make this work. What you're doing is you're training people to be communicators. And so what we do, and this is why I like it so much, is I'm a health educator. I've always been a health educator. I started back in 1981 with my first lecture in First Chiropractic District of Atlanta. I was speaking to chiropractors about TMJ. And then in 1983, I did my first lecture internationally up in Toronto, Canada, on TMJ and orthodontics. And so teaching health has always been something I've been interested in. And this is an extension of teaching people how to understand how to make their bodies healthier. And if you can do that, you can make this successful. And you have to basically just open the door and let people walk in. It's a network of people who believe that there's a better answer. And so it's not sales, it's basically communication and teaching people how to teach people, if that makes sense.
I'd like to just segue on that and just emphasize the horizontal versus vertical nature of this. There's no way anybody is going to get rich or make a lot of money selling things one at a time. There's a limit there. It's time dependent and it's people dependent. And so the leverage that this type of an industry offers is the ability to get out of that transactional one-on-one thing. And as I share information that is then shared again, that is then shared again, which goes back to my comment from an earlier video that we did, the FDA does not allow us to make claims. We can't talk about disease process, or we can't talk about specific diseases and so forth, but we can tell and share stories. This is education. And the important part is that we don't have to invent all of the, or create all of the educational materials. Those are done for us. And so it's so easy. That's one of the benefits of this.
You know, absolutely. And I think what we're trying to do with this 3-part series is to let people know that there is something out there. There is something that can help them right now and give them hope for their future. And that 3 people who have spent their lives studying and working hard in a service that benefits other people with their health and lifestyle. We've taken a look at this, as have thousands of other healthcare professionals. Excuse me, we have MDs, RNs, dentists, chiropractors, you name it, who are all involved. And people who are not healthcare professionals, everybody from teachers to hairstylists to every walk of life, realtors, anything you can think of. People who care about other people have joined us. And I love what you guys have shared, because there is a system in place. And if you find this valuable for yourself and for other people, and can think of people who would benefit from this, then you can join our mission to get the information out to people and to help people have a better quality of health and a better quality of life. And so we will probably do more videos kind of giving the specifics on how to get started with us and what that entails and what you need to do to have the income, like Dr. Lee was saying, where if you need an extra $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, or maybe just $500 a month. That's up to you. We're here to help you make that a reality. So I want to thank you again for tuning in. Hopefully there will be more videos coming. So please reach out either to the person who sent you here or referred you to this, or sent you this video to watch for more information, or go to redoxdentistry.com. And again, Dr. Lee, your website that they can plug their numbers in.
Backuplanasset.com.
Backuplanasset.com. Thank you so much for putting that together. And thank you all for watching. We're here to help. We're struggling with this just like everybody else, especially Dr. Lee and Dr. Bill, who have had their practices shuttered, as have all of our dental friends across the nation and probably across the world. So if you know somebody who needs to hear this information, please share. Thank you so much.
Wow. Great information. All right, let's dig in a little bit deeper. Bill, is there anything you want to add? Lee, Maureen, Bill, you go first.
I was listening to some online characters today on Facebook that were talking about, what's your side gig? I mean, there's actually a forum of doctors that I'm on, and everybody's asking, what's your side gig? So I'm going to say to the people out there who are not doctors, dentists, doctors are starting to look at this as a real job. The only real job that they used to have is not really a real job today. You know, being a dentist is a zero job. You can't even go to work mostly. And the image of network marketing has always been one that we have to overcome, of course, because it's non-traditional. It's non-traditional for the people who have a real professional degree and a job in a medical office. but it's a real job for those who do it right. And so we have joined this group on the screen here tonight. We have joined the network marketing profession, and we are professionals. And so I think it's important for all the doctors out there to realize that there is a system and a curricula that you go through to learn how to be a professional network marketer. And if you become one of those, you know, most of the people who do it professionally make more than most physicians. So I just want y'all to understand this is a real job, and it's the right job for anybody who wants to work and have alternatives. And that's the key. You have options, you have alternatives.
Lee?
Yeah, I echo that. We, as we mentioned earlier, we get kind of full of ourselves sometimes, and it took us many years to get to where we're at. And again, whether it's a medical degree or a dental degree or whatever it is, mostly our audience tonight was intended to be health professionals, but it's really a generic conversation. We get a little full of ourselves and how long it took us to get where we're at, and we defensively protect that, and we lose sight of the realization that this is, being a business, there is a formula, not just in the behavior that we do, but in the way the income shows up. And one of the things that the backup plan asset white paper shows is the concept of compounded generational leverage. Jim, when we're done here after Maureen speaks, I'd like to throw it back to you and have you come from your financial stockbroker background and address the issue of what compound interest really is, how it what your experience with it was,
Okay.
as well as the difference between that and compounded generational leverage. That's a concept that most people really, they shy away from it because there's been some bad actors that have been legislated away. And it's not the same anymore. But when it's done right and it's done with a pure product, which we believe exists, it's like magic. So Maureen, go ahead.
I love what you both have said, and I look forward to what Jim can teach us as a former stockbroker. But, it's funny because I was talking to somebody one day, and it was before I actually had hit six figures with this company. And she said to me, "Are you making $10,000 a month yet?" And I said, no, I'm not yet. And she said, "Wow, how long have you been doing this?" And I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. Do you make $10,000 a month in your career right now?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Have you ever?" And she said, "No." And I said, "But you've been at your job for," she was in her early 60s. So you've been in the workforce for about 40 something years, right? Yeah. And the truth of the matter is when we're all starting off with our first jobs or our first careers in our 20s, we all figured we would be millionaires by 40, at least I guess I did. And it's amazing that people have an expectation that something like this that can reward you so handsomely if you stick with it, and if you do the work and you follow the mentors, the income can be quite large and residual. But it does take that effort. You do have to put it in, and you do, have to do the work. So, but it's worth it. It is worth it. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that story because I thought it was interesting how many people expect you to be like your person, Jim, who got to triple diamond in 4.5 months. But
Right.
For the rest of us, we have to plug away for a little bit.
I've got a book that I got a long time ago called The Confessions of a Stockbroker. I did it for 30 years. And I just want to state in the beginning that my dad was also a dentist. He was an oral surgeon. But my dad lost everything because he wasn't a very good business person. And he made a lot of wrong choices. And he was entrepreneurial. He tried a lot of different things. But it didn't work out. He lost everything. And I don't even know why I said that, but I look at my career as a broker. And first off, if you did not walk in with a certain level of assets, I wasn't going to talk with you. It wasn't worth my time. And the mass majority of people don't have those kind of assets to be able at young enough age, and that's what I was talking with Lee about, that if you start at maybe at the age of 18, setting aside, I can't remember the exact numbers. I no longer have my hypo. I used to use American funds a lot. And you put $2,000 in for like 5 or 10 years and stop as an 18-year-old, and you let it grow. It'll be worth an amazing amount of money. But if you wait until you're the age of 30 and start even doubling up the investment, you'll never get to where that young person is. And I like to share the example of Facebook. Facebook came out in the year 2012. And I had a few clients that were able to get a little bit of the stock. And it came out at $38 a share. And within a short period of time, it dropped down to $18 a share. But I like to ask people the question, where do you think that $38 a share, if you bought it on the IPO, the initial public offering, and today, what do you think that's worth? And a lot of people start guessing, oh, $1 million or $2 million. And it's like, no, it's $46,000. And so what is that? 18 years, you took $10,000 and it grew to $46,000. But here's the big question. What does it pay today? Zero. There's no dividend. And so I used to do a lot of estate planning as well. And I would work with a lot of wealthy families. And if you're managing money and you have a great broker, and I was telling Lee earlier, and I'm in San Antonio, Texas, 1.8 million people. And honestly, and I'm not being critical of stockbrokers, but maybe I am. There's only 3 that I know of in San Antonio that I would trust. And 2 of them are no longer taking any new clientele. There's one guy I know of. Now, again, I don't know all of them, but you have to understand, even if Maureen, you have a great broker, what's going to happen when he or she retires or dies? You know, what's your backup plan? You put everything into their hands. And so what I wish I would have known back when I was a broker, because my last 7 or 8 years, I was a broker in a bank. So I literally sat next door to the vault. And I would talk to people of all ages. And it broke your heart when you see someone in their 60s or 70s and they don't have anything. And I'll tell everybody here that if you're a baby boomer age, what are you going to do? What's your plan B? And I had a lady that she was healthy, older, but her husband wasn't, and he was in a nursing home. And all of her assets went to pay for the nursing home because it was like $5,000 to $7,000 a month. And so all the money was gone. He passes away. And so her income is now what? Social Security only. And so she had to sell the house because all the assets of the house, what she cashed out went to pay the bills. And she had 4 children. And she showed me the letters. She had 4 letters written to each of her children. When something happens here and I can't afford to live here anymore, I'm coming to your house, Bill. I'm coming to your house, Lee. So you think you're not going to rebound back to your kid's house? Wake up, folks. I also heard of 4 couples that bought a double wide trailer, and 4 couples were going to live in it. You've got to figure out a way to cut expenses. But the financial markets are in such a state of turmoil, and the interest rates that Lee was referring to earlier. Guys, a 30-year treasury bond, 30-year treasury bond is currently paying 1.22%. 1.22 for a 30-year bond. Do you understand how much money you would have to have in the bank to be able to generate any kind of a cash flow? And then if you had money in the stock market is now down 38% from where it was. And I'll tell you now, just a little bit of advice. If you're taking income out on your investment portfolio, and when your investment portfolio goes down and you're taking income out, stop taking the income. You're going to blow up your portfolio. Your odds are going to blow it up anyway. But I did a lot of estate planning. There's no better tool that I can see. And I'm going to talk about the pyramid. A lot of people think this is the pyramid selling. Well, I was back when Bernie Madoff blew up that industry, and that affected me when I was a broker. This is nothing like a pyramid. You want to look at a pyramid scheme? Go look at Walmart. Who's the top of Walmart? The Waltons. Does anybody make more money than the Waltons? And all they're doing is franchising. And all they're doing is, in essence, doing what we're doing, but we end up getting paid as well. But if you want to set up a correct kind of financial plan, set up a residual recurring income stream that is willable, because you're going to always have to find someone to manage those assets. Who are you going to trust? Your brother, your sister, your niece, your nephew. You got to find someone. If you have sizable assets, you have to find someone to manage that. Who's going to be? Versus you find a income stream that's willable to your children. Well, now you can also put that into the form of a trust. And again, I did a lot of estate planning, but you can set things up to go into a trust to protect your spouse, to protect your children. And but if you have an asset base, it's going to shrivel, it's going to shrink. And guess what's always going to happen, Maureen? An emergency. You may think you have a boatload of money there, but then you have a stock market crash. Then you have an emergency within your family and you got to pull out 100 grand or 100 grand here or there. And so it just starts to diminish your pot. The only solution is to have a residual income business on something no one else has. If it's not ASEA, that's fine. Find something that you want to do, but I'll guarantee you, you will not find a better opportunity anywhere on this planet than what we're showing you right now. But it's not easy. How easy was it, guys, getting your medical degree? Just like what you were talking about. That's not easy. You can spend, my dad spent, I think, 12 to 16 years in college after high school, and that we can spend, with what we've been able to do in 5 years. And by the way, my wife and I had zero network marketing experience, none. And we're now diamonds. We're now making triple digit. How long would that take me if I was a broker? Guys, it's impossible. This is the only solution. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Lee.
Well, the other point, Jim, and it's the rule of 72. We put it in that white paper at backupplanasset.com, but the rule of 72 means you just don't have enough time to double your money. And that's assuming that the money doubles. That's assuming that you've got an interest rate that is worthy of your attention. And those are the uncertainties. Now, maybe our economy will just come roaring back and we'll have another 10-year run of wonderful stuff. I don't know. But part of the reason that we put this whole program together to talk like this is that what we are experiencing right now, 1 month ago, was literally unthinkable. It was unthinkable. And yet here we sit. And it's not just dentists, as we pointed out earlier. There's hundreds and hundreds of service trades and businesses that are affected. This is going to trickle like crazy, and I don't know that we're ever going to be back to normal. The point is that if this model is correct, what we're talking about, and that's the reason those charts were developed. And by the way, I think I did misspeak. If I would have spoken correctly, we would have talked about 2.4 million instead of 240,000 on it. But find yourself in there, see where you're at personally, and realize what Jim just said, and that is you need to do something different. You choose. But putting yourself in front of where the market is going. This is selling into the market with worldwide health issues going on, with worldwide economic issues going on. This company is growing like crazy because people are looking for cellular health. We made that point in the last video. They're looking for financial solutions that they can't get anywhere else. I can't work more hours, even if I was able to be open. I can't service people one-on-one enough. I have to leverage myself. And if I can do it generationally, to where one generation breeds a new generation, breeds a new generation, then I'm expanding exponentially. I can't do that by selling widgets by myself or services one-on-one. So that's my plea, is that everybody would have an open mind. We've been at least tapped on the shoulder, if not whacked on the side of the head, to take a serious look at doing something that protects our family and our income and our future. And the joke is, can you walk and chew bubble gum? It's like, we're all very multi-talented. We can do two things at once.
We're in 33 countries. We already know that you're capable of doing things that you might not have thought previously. I always tell people it takes 10 minutes to get involved and join. It takes $40 to join. So there's not a financial burden for anyone to join, and you can have a income stream going within 1 week. Now, if that's not attractive, I don't know what is. And so it only takes, by our account, 6 or 7 strong people working with you to create a good income that rivals what you'd make as a physician or a dentist. Think about that. If you like to talk and network with people, if you like to be a leader who educates, this might be the perfect job for you.
Absolutely. Maureen?
Hey, Jim, I'm looking at the time and
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so I think we'll wrap it up. I think so many great things have been said, and you know, we'll be back tomorrow for your viewing pleasure, so we can answer any questions that you have then, and we'll be talking about what's your plan B. So maybe it's perfect timing. So
Excellent.
good night, everybody. Thanks
Thank
for joining.
you. You bet. Thank you, guys.